Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here, and we're going to talk about the Gotham Awards and what just happened. You know, unfortunately, we didn't do a live reaction. I don't usually, save the Gothams to react in front of a camera, because they're ultimately not that consequential of a precursor, although I think they do have some meaning and some purpose. But I also didn't expect that they would make me gasp like they did this year. So I think that we actually do want to talk about what happened here and whether or not this creates a path forward for some contenders, what kind of boost it may have given. Before we get into it though, I want to tell you who's voting for on these awards. So the nominees are actually voted for by a group of 5 critics per category, a jury of 5 critics, different people for each category. But the winners are voted on, also a jury of 5, but these are actually industry folks. So technically, it's an industry award, but the sample size is really too small to really say that it's that significant in terms of predicting voter behavior. But what these awards really do is give a spotlight to some films, generate some headlines, get some speeches out there, remind people of what they should be paying attention to this award season.
I have this question, okay? So A Different Man took Best Feature, which is not my first or second guess, and probably not even my third.
No, I thought Anora was going to win Best Feature. Anora didn't win any awards.
I think it was like Anora or Nicoloys. I would have seen either of those.
Yeah.
Would not have surprised me. And they really just went okay, Anora, you have enough. You're doing just fine this award season.
They did give the writer Best Picture one year.
Marriage Story, Nomadland, The Lost Daughter, Everything Ever All at Once, Past Lives. See, they're not allergic to movies that have Best Picture buzz. You know, they gave it to Nomadland when they could have given it to First Cow.
But this year, it feels like what they did this year was they said, Anora Brutalist, we get it, we liked you, we nominated you for stuff, but we know you're going to be fine this award season. Let's give a boost to some films, because the 3 films that did the best, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, and A Different Man, of course, those were movies that needed some extra buzz. I mean, A Different Man made less than $1 million at the US box office, completely just came and went. I heard that some people were trying to go to their theater in its second week of release and it was already out. I'm sure that this will get some people to watch it, and maybe even we'll get critics groups to take a second look at this movie overall and say, hey, maybe we should actually consider Sebastian Stan, Adam Pearson, the screenplay.
We could see that echoed at some critics groups. I really do think we could. Especially if that 5th Best Actor slot, he could become the favorite in that for critics.
The favorite for critics?
The favorite 5 slot.
That is interesting, because if Mr. Sebastian Stan should win the Golden Globe, right now I think his competition is Glenn Powell, but if he should win, he may really give that 5th Best Actor slot a run for it.
I don't know. No, I think when you start bringing this into the Golden Globes, you start bringing in other things, I think you're getting too far ahead of yourself. This has no bearing on the Golden Globes.
No,
it's not going to impact it.
No.
They're still they're gonna go for Hitman still over Sebastian Stan.
Now in Best Director, and this is the first year that Gothams did a Best Director category, we have Ramel Ross winning for Nickel Boys. I mean, this is great, and this is a great sign to come that Ramel Ross has a serious chance to take New York Film Critics for Best Director, Best Film, or some other big critics groups. And also in cinematography, I hope this film does well.
Yeah.
Hope it does well in supporting actress.
I've said it before, but I think this has a zone of interest path where it's going to do well with critics. It's going to release wide after the Academy Awards happen. And I think it is going to get a director nomination at Academy Awards. Been predicting this since we saw it, and maybe even before, I'm not sure. More just confirmation for me that that's the right track to go to predict for Nickel Boys.
In screenplay, we got His Three Daughters. Now, the nominees were quite out of whack with many of the other categories. I really loved His Three Daughters. I'm glad to see it get recognized, and I hope that we can see some love for Natasha Lyonne from some critics groups as well as we continue on the season. And in the Best Lead Performance and Best Supporting Performance, we got Sing Sing victories. Double Sing Sing victories. Clarence Macklin and Coleman Domingo. This movie is far from dead. And this is a great way to launch that revival campaign that A24 is hoping to do, especially going into re-releasing it.
I think they're going to continue to do very well and consistently with getting the 2 nominations for acting. I don't really know what to think about whether they're going to win prizes. So this was an interesting way to kick that off. At this point, I'm predicting that it's just going to be a steady contender and those acting categories are going to anchor it in, and then it will just go along to Best Picture. But it does make you wonder if Macklin could sweep. It gives you a little wonder.
Yeah, I feel like once people start to have permission to do Macklin and they go, oh, this is a real prospect, like we can get him on stage and it's a really great narrative for him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a contagion. You know, the Gothams kicked off that campaign for Troy Kotzer and Ke Huy Quan in their years. I think Ke Huy Quan would have been fine either way.
Yeah.
But the Troy Kotzer campaign is interesting. It's a bit comparable, I would say. And especially because we're thinking about Sing Sing as having this comeback thing going on where it becomes a coda perhaps this year. And I think that Clarence Macklin is the key to that potentially happening. That door opens up if he wins Golden Globe or Critics' Choice.
I used to think that Coleman Domingo would be who wins for Sing Sing, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore because I think Adrien Brody is too big of competition that he's not going to beat Adrien Brody. But this is where, in a supporting actor, a little more ambiguous, I think you're competing with Kieran Culkin and Guy Pearce. And I would say, you have a path, especially if Sing Sing becomes something transcendent. But we don't know if that's going to happen yet. It didn't even get a Best Feature nomination here, which is kind of funny because it won 2 awards. So they really loved it.
I mean, look, last year, counter to the other 2 Oscar eventual winners that I mentioned, Charles Melton won the award, and he went R.I.P. He also won like the critics trifecta on top of that. I remember at this point of the year, we were like, oh my God, is he number 3? Is he number 3? And no, he's not. So, it goes to show that it can be a great launching point for people's campaigns. And it also can mean not that much. Daniel Deadweiler also won here for Till. So for every person where it's like, wow,
again, that's why the Best Picture anchor matters, of course.
Well, yeah. Oh, well, okay. Of course. Yeah, sure.
Of course. Yeah. May December didn't have a good anchor for him.
It did honestly make me put Macklin back at number 2 for supporting actor. I don't know if you think that's premature or whatever, but
maybe.
I think that he could win. And if he does, I might have to start predicting Sing Sing again, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Way ahead. Every fucking day for like the next month, there's going to be a new Critics Award group. So we don't need to get our Jimmys in a Russell over like the first one, okay? Every group is going to do something different and it's all going to boggle your little heads.
I thought the lead category would go to Mikey Madison. I mean, you also have Baptiste in there, and Adrien Brody, and in the supporting category you had Kieran Culkin, who looked really strong, or maybe Natasha Lyonne could have won.
Daniel Deadweiler also could have been strong. So yeah, definitely not without competition, like a really impressive win.
Breakthrough director went to Vera Drew for The People's Joker, which is pretty awesome. It's an absolute mystery and a wonder as to what she will do next, but very excited for that.
A film that looks like it was made in someone's garage. I thought the film was okay, but it was inspiring and I did really enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to what Vera Drew does next, and her style is absolutely fascinating. So I think I see why they did that and why she won that award.
Breakthrough Performer went to Brandon Wilson for Nickel Boys. It's a really great choice. Documentary went to No Other Land. I think that this is going to become a big staple for critics groups.
I really think critics groups are going to do it because the issue is more hot button than the other ones. It lets them make a statement about Palestine.
And an international feature, All We Imagine Is Light, won. And I expect that this will be also repeating at a lot of critics groups, especially like the New York, LA critics. And I think All We Imagine Is Light and Sacred Fig may split these prizes quite a bit, making it kind of difficult to see how Sacred Fig becomes a runaway favorite, as I think it might need to be if it was actually going to get into the Best Pictures conversation. Although we did have All Quiet on the Western Front, which wasn't even winning critics groups, ended up doing well at the Oscars.
No, I think even if you're predicting Sacred Fig, I don't think you should expect it to sweep the international awards.
And that's what happened at the Gotham Awards. The schedule is that the New York Film Critics are tomorrow, Indie Spirits and National Border Review are the next day, and the day after that is the AFI Top 10. After that, we're getting a lot of critics groups on the 7th and 8th, especially the 8th. And then we have the Golden Globe Awards, and then 3 days after, we have the Critics' Choice Awards, so we're in full swing.
It's fucking madness.
And we'll be giving more frequent updates and making more videos on memberships. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Who do you think this is going to boost the most?